so almost done. This is the mirror in the climax and the ending. But many people haven't seen this movie yet. So I'm really afraid of showing the kind of sort of a shocking ending. It's like saying, what is it? What's the movie name? Anyways, it's like saying the, ending of a movie, this opening door in the theater. Hey, that is that guy, or something like that. So, I don't know. I think I should just skip this. And this is a kind of picture of how I made the mirror tree. So using clays. Yeah, I think I should show the mirror. Okay, like this. So kind of weird just watching the ending without watching the body. What happened was that the main character that take a really long journey inside of a mysterious hospital. That she is seeing many optical illusion devices and some weird situation and like a spooky characters she's meeting. But at the end, she finally get a plastic surgery, and but the doctors, when doctor do the surgery, the doctor just screwed up. They failed it, so they made the main character's face really distorted, and the doctors recognized that we made a really big mistake. But they don't tell anything. And then they try to do plastic surgery to fix it again. But they thought, okay, why if we just leave the face there, and then just distort the mirror instead, and calculating really perfect, position, like reflecting that stuff. And that's the final ending. She's a kind of grabbing the mirror finally, looking at her face. But the beauty and the ugly is just the difference of just tilting mirror like this or that. So that is a kind of ending. This is how I started to connect the mirror reflection. So I had a really small secret camera that I put it into the clay, and put the plastic mirror that I can distort by the hair dryer. They're making really hot, and I can kind of distort that thing. So the budget. I didn't have any budget, so I made it alone. Luckily, I had a good friend helping with this really good sounds and music. Lots of things, kind of really hard job, like modeling some small objects or something. So I didn't have any money and didn't hire anyone, but I found really good students who really want to learn Maya. So the only I had was I know how to use Maya, so we kind of made a deal. Okay, I can teach Maya, so help my film. So yeah, so that's how I finished this film. The equipment, I'm sure. This is the only motion I used for entire film. I just finished everything in my laptop, and but sure, it's a kind of photorealistic rendering, so I could use a render farm in school. So I finished everything in laptop and copy the data at school to render, final rendering. But what I mean is the equipment doesn't matter. It's like the Macintosh I bought like in 2002. It's really slow, but the story and the ideas are the key things. And this is the last day I finished the film. It's in my room. I used lots of candles. This is kind of to release my stress. You guys gonna see this moment someday. I ended the film. So thank you, and visit my website www.shimi.com. Actually, it's not. You guys can find the full film, but it's unofficial. There is an icon named trailer. If you click that button, it's going to direct to the Vimeo site. And then in the link, there is a full film. So you guys can watch the entire film. You guys, I put some postcard, 100 miles from away. So anyone want to have one? Take one.
Това е с следващият проект, който също е изключително интересен. На нашите гости от Холандия Wilfred Ottenheijm и Remco Polman. Те са от студио Mooves, които са направили филма Dirkjan Heerst, if I'm pronouncing well the name. Това е също един изключително оригинален, така и бих казал много интересен и като моделиране и като анимация проект. Welcome. It's your floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Nice of you to show up here. My name is Wilfred Ottenheijm, that's Remco Polman. We are from a little company in Holland. It is called Mooves. This is just our website. You can check it out at moves.nl. NL is Netherlands. We have this little production company. It consists of 3 people. That's us. We are animation directors, writers, and animators. And we have a third one who is a writer and our producer. So that means we can produce our own movies from scratch to the final movie, which is very nice for us, of course, because we can control the whole project. What we are going to talk about is our latest movie. It's called Dirkjan Rules in English, and I will tell shortly something about this movie, and then we'll go through the whole process of making this movie from scratch to the final end of it, and see what interesting problems arrive there. This movie is made for the Dutch. It's made with money from the Dutch Film Fund. In Holland, you can get money from taxpayers if you make some kind of plan for the film fund, and then they can tell you if they're going to give you money or not. This was a special program because it was a program for 2-minute movies, so the movie is about 2 minutes, and they were going to finance 4 of those 2-minute movies, and then it was shown all through Holland in all kind of theaters of the Pathé cinemas. I don't think you got it here. No? Pathé? No. It's a very big cinema thing in Western Europe, I guess. It was we had to make a movie that could only last for 2 minutes, so we decided to put as much as we could in a 2-minute movie, which was very funny when we started it, but then when we had to make it, we had 4 months making a 2-minute movie, which was of course hard work. But it's a 2D movie. There's some 3D in it. We'll talk about that later. But we are really 2D guys. We started as comic artists, just drawing, and most of it, everything you'll see is hand drawn, and then scanned to the computer. We go into the process later. Last thing about this movie, it's about a character called Dirkjan. And that's a very famous Dutch comic figure. It's the best-selling comic in Holland. The guy who makes this comic is working in the same studio as I do, so we made this movie in collaboration with him. The 3 of us, Remco, me, and the author, Mark Retera, we made up the story. And so we wanted to make a movie that stays close to the feeling of the comic. Like when you make a comic like Asterix, you know him, for example? Yes. There are some movies made of it, yeah, live-action movies too, but when you want to make an animation of it, you want to stay as close to the original as possible. We're going to show the movie now, then we'll know what we'll talk about. It's 2 minutes, so if you don't like it, time will pass very quickly. So this is what I meant. We wanted to make happen as loud as possible in 2 minutes. So after the first shot is some guy in some very typical Dutch housing area, some outskirts, is letting out the dog, and then in 1 minute and 20 seconds the earth gets destroyed. And we really like that that idea of many things happening. Well, when we made up the story, the three of us, us and the original author, and he said, yeah, we're sitting at this table, and how you do it, and Monday morning at 11 with a cup of coffee, and said, okay, what we're gonna do it about. And then he said something like, yeah, maybe he gets abducted by aliens. We said, yeah, that would be nice. So we started out, and then this whole story was there. And when I remember some journalist asking him, how did you make up this story? He said, yeah, someone said he's just walking with his dog, and then one thing led to another. But that's of course not how it went, because this is a movie that's supposed to be funny, and creating something that is funny is actually very hard, because when you make something that is artistic or beautiful, which of course is a very beautiful thing to do, then people can like it in different ways. Someone can like that aspect of it or that aspect, and this has to be like bang, funny, So it's very hard to make something that will make people laugh. And of course not everybody will think this is funny, that's another story. But we were, so the storyboard of this thing was very important, and also a bit complicated, because we had this timing thing, and we had 2 problems we had to solve. So the thing is, we made a storyboard, and it was selected by this commission, so we got funded, we got the money to make this 2-minute movie. And when we got to this commission, they said, yeah, we thought it was a great movie because it was very up to date, like these days, because it's about this right-wing populism in Holland. And we said, oh yeah, it's about that too. It's very we're very concerned with that. Yeah, and it's about how the people film each other and put it on YouTube. We said, oh yeah, we thought of that, but we just made a joke. Well, especially that YouTube stupid thing was that's of course is the stupid joke of this all. But I think that's the way it works. You just try to make up something funny, and then in the end, if it has to do with something which is happening in society, it's a good thing. Because this is happening in Holland. I don't know if you know about that, but there is this weird politician, right-wing guy doing. So it was a little, looked very up to date there. And then we began to steal all the images from the Leni Riefenstahl movies. You know her? No. She was the filmer of Adolf Hitler. This very tight. But Remco was going to talk about this animation thing. I wanted to talk about 2 problems we had in telling this story. So we will show the storyboard. I don't know what this is. It's very beautiful. Oh, this is, yeah. We have some sketches from the...
Can you zoom in?
Yeah.
Can you zoom in? Some original pictures of the Leni Riefenstahl movie. These are very famous, and she was a very famous filmer and is very influential in filming. I think you recognize the style, this Nazi style thing. And we stole, we just copied certain views of that movie to make it look very militaristic. And it is shown in Russia, what I particularly like, because of course this idea of the military parade thing is, I noticed from the 80s in Russia, when all the Russians showed their SS-20 missiles every year. So that was quite funny. Can we go to... yes, this is the storyboard. But first let us show, the other one. This was the storyboard that we originally made. And some things are still different there. It's this one, yeah. Some things are still different there. I think you. Well, when I looked at it the other week to start the presentation, I thought, hey, maybe this was better. But we just have a look. The sound is a bit. Can you put it on? So this is an animatic with some sounds in it to get the idea of timing and. This you will recognize immediately, of course. We just put some sound of football matches in it. This is different. He gets taken by the public, and he's very popular with the people here. And then there come these scenes. This is different too, because there is this scene with the other. Now the rest of this is actually the same. Remco, could you go to this moment where he gets taken by the public? Because we had a great discussion about this. Because, well, if you know the character, he's really a big nerd. That's what him. And everything just happens to him, and he has no control at all. So this is the one time that people think he has control, but he hasn't, because you put a thing in him, and it was a stupid joke. That's typically him. And now we were wondering about how we're going to tell, because it's quite easy to tell that he gets very popular, because he starts talking and he starts talking more like this, and then people start yelling. But there must be some kind of moment where we know, okay, this guy's in power now. And we were really discussing that, because first we had this scene, which actually is a bitch to animate, so I'm glad we... But then we thought, we had real discussions. I think Remco is still in favor of this option. But we had real discussions because he looks popular here, and he sort of looks like a liberator of the people. And we didn't want that. We wanted to make it completely irrelevant what he is saying. He's saying bullshit, but in a way that people think, yeah, this guy's right, So there is no word, not even a Dutch word in all the things he says. It's of course easy to make him sort of right-wing, and he says, "Oh, the foreigners out of the country," but he doesn't do that because he could be anything. It's like a politician who says things in some kind of way that people say, "Yeah, that's what it is." So we didn't want to make him popular or some kind of freedom fighter for the people. So we took this out, and then we made the scene where he puts on his cap that you see in the movie, and that for us was the moment of now he's in charge. He puts on his military cap, and then comes a military parade. So that was one thing, and the other problem was even bigger because we had made up this joke. Okay, he gets abducted by aliens, and then everybody thinks, okay, they want world control. No, it's a bunch of kids who want to make a joke, and the Earth explodes. This is the scene with the cap. Yeah. I actually had to film myself putting on a cap because this was even difficult. This strange style. Remco, can you show the flower from the storyboard? Now we had this problem we had was how we're going to tell that these aliens are a bunch of kids making a joke. First we had another option. If I look back at it now, maybe it would have worked. I don't know. Yeah, let's go to that point. Somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. Can you get it a little bit back, and I can tell where the story was at that moment. Yeah. So now he became world leader, and he pushed the red button, and atomic war, and everything is gone. Yeah, play it. And then we had this option. He crawls out of his hole because he's the only survivor, of course. And then this happens. The thing lands, they come out, take back their thingy, which is a quite funny scene, I think. He just stands there. Then the guys go back to their planet, and then this happens. See, so that's the difference. They have some kind of angry father opens the door and he said, "Where the fuck have you been?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, we're doing, give me that thing." And we didn't choose for this because it's, like I said, when you want to make one joke, you have to tell one story, and this is a bit a distraction, we thought, because what is that thing, you know? Is that the thing from his father that he uses all the time to blow up planets? Is he angry because the kids went joyriding his flying saucer? What is that? So we just kill your darling, because I really like the scene that everything's gone, he's the only survivor, then the saucer lands again and they take out his, they take it off and then they leave. It's funny, but we have to kill that, because I think it works better if they just, walk into the house, or the parents are home, we go to a room and do that thing. Because there's no distraction at all from what we wanted to show, because we have no idea what that thing is. We don't know. And that's something I think is quite important, because it must be stupid. We don't know. The whole Earth is gone, he's the only survivor, and he has no brains left, because they were taken out. And we don't care about him, which is in a 2-minute movie. Then the last scene is with completely different characters in a completely different world, which is against all rules of screenwriting, actually. So we just leave him standing there, and so that were the big two struggles, I think, in storyboarding. And we think that if you have a really, really good storyboard, and if you have it animated like this, just for yourself, and put some lines in it and whatever, and some sounds for the timing, because sounds say a lot about timing, then the rest of the movie is actually, we could send it to Korea and you could make it there, which is not true, of course, but these things are actually the movie for us, and the rest is work, animation. And my dear colleague Remco is going to talk about that part of making this movie.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind. I keep sitting behind the computer, so I can immediately show what I'm talking about. First of all, so our company is very small, and we mainly consist of 2 animators, which is the 2 of us. We're 2D guys. So, from time to time, it happens that we need, some kind of tiny 3D stuff to be put in, and then we, hire somebody else, an external person. And we did have help from a few other people on this project. So it was not just the 2 of us. We had an animation assistant. We had, I think, 3 animation assistants, because one of them worked at my place and 2 of them worked at his place. We had a girl who took an internship from animation education school in Holland. We hired a guy to do the backgrounds, because he's kind of really good at painting in a computer, aquarelle, watercolor, that kind of stuff. I'm going to show a little bit of his backgrounds in here. He did a few studies on, color palette. So this is actually the scene that where the kids come up, and it's got to be totally weird. We thought in the first place, but then after a while, we said no, maybe it should be a little, very familiar actually, because now the setting is it is aliens, it is pretty weird, but it also should look not too weird at this particular moment, because it's a normal family, the parents are sitting on the couch watching television, and it should be just plain stupid actually. So we skipped this and went to less weird atmosphere, like it's, more normal. These are this is like the Riefenstahl design that we just showed. This is really almost exactly taken from the Triumph des Willens movie that she made of the the Nazi Congress in 1934, I think. So we almost copied that exactly like the way it was, because it's such a strong setting, and I'm pretty sure like most people will recognize this kind of imagery. So, well, apart from that, so we put this ad on banners, of course.
Yeah, instead of a swastika.
Instead of a swastika. We see him design this symbol of his own head in the movie, but it's pretty, that's pretty fast. We also had some, like I said, a 3D guy. Maybe we should. You tell something about that, because it was seemed you were working with.
Yeah, what we really wanted, because there's one 3D thing in it. Did you recognize it?
Only one.
Yeah.
The UFO at the end, where it lands.
Sorry, you did?
The UFO.
No, that was 2D in Flash. There was, yeah, I'm very happy with this, but there was this big car with the big rockets going just by the camera in the shot that he just showed. That's actually 3D, because we cannot, there's a distortion of perspective, of course, because this car is riding very close to the camera, as I put it. So this car, you see, you cannot just use a 2D drawing there. So we had a 3D guy to make that car with the big rocket for us. And we wanted it to look like 2D. So actually what you see, the texture of the car is hand painted by the same guy who painted the backgrounds. We really wanted it, and we had some problems with rendering because we wanted these thick black cartoon lines in it. Yeah, can you show it now? Yeah, there it is. This is a 3D thing, because you can see the front of the car, and then it's a hell to animate. Now these guys, they put a little bit back. This is just 2D, because we could just, make them a little bit like this and a little bit like that and copy it, and then it looks like, but we didn't do that with the car. So, yeah, that's 2D. There it is. That's actually the only thing. So that was the only 3D.
I think you also did the rockets in 3D.
Yeah, we did the rockets in 3D, the launch, because we had them already in 3D, but it's not, these frames, we could just, it was actually faster if I'd drawn them myself, because, we had to talk on the phone with this guy, and he wants to do, and I had to go very close with the timing and stuff. So that's actually the only 3D thing. I'm very glad you didn't immediately recognize it, actually. Nothing against 3D, but just one thing.
Okay, so as Wilfred said, like this was all based on a famous Dutch comic book character, and we kind of cooperated with him on this movie too. So we made up the story together with him. We brainstormed with him about all the way we would tell the story, and it's also interesting because like we've directed this movie with two of us. So, but if we disagree on something, we get stuck. So we had to have a third party in order to make choices on some points.
You always agree with me, actually.
But he also made some of the original layout sketches, which is like kind of the stuff that I'm gonna go through now. So this was actually done by the comic book guy himself, by Mark. And this, as you can see, this is mirrored. Same here.
I like the way he does the hair on that alien. It's really, he's really brilliant in designing things that look stupid, but he really thinks about it.
Yeah. So it's just the right balance between, like really weird, like for instance the plant that we see here, which is kind of a vagina thing. It's just weird and just very common, familiar, you know, family kind of stuff, like with a pipe and you know, the knitting, the cup of coffee, and the show they're watching, which is like totally a bad comedy we thought of. Like, this was the original layout sketch for the car scene. Driving around. This was the original layout for the final scene.
We left that thing in, I think. I don't know what it is. But it's a sort of toy, I guess.
Yeah, it's this again. This is some kind of weird detail that he like made up very like sketchily, and we left it in the final background. Let's have a look at that. Here. So, oh, there's a couple of them there. So you kind of want, it's those little details, you know, you kind of want, if you look at it, you kind of want, because it goes away very fast, you know, because it's told very quickly. But like, when you get into this kind of detail, it's like totally weird, but also familiar, because it's some kind of toys, you know. And, you know, well, some kind of sports team and stuff. Yeah, it's some kind of, it's probably a rock singer with kind of a microphone, which is...
I thought it was a movie poster.
Yeah, it could be. You never know. But it has this familiar, you know, feeling in a way. This is definitely a boys' room, like teenager boys' room, but then the alien variety of that. Let's get back to the layout sketches. This is actually also the layout sketch of his first the real public the speech on the square, and it's kind of like the details here are. This is a square that actually exists. This is the town that Wilfred lives. It's called Nijmegen, and this square is really very ugly, very. You know, this is like this kind of advertisements are really there. Like it's like. There's a movie theater in the background, so we kind of use that. And so if we play this movie in his hometown, like everybody will recognize the square and nobody else will, of course. This was the first layout for. It's also mirrored the way we used it for the scene where he creeps out of the hole in the ground and just notices that the world is all destroyed. This is actually a scene that we put a few assistants on. I think we put a few assistants on the side characters.
Yeah.
And they did a pretty good job. I think they did it for free, right?
Yeah. They gave me a present for it. I don't know what.
Yeah. They got a box of chocolate because the girls were allowed to work on it, I think.
If anyone, anyone.
So now I'll get into